used to walk with my head down low, chained by the weight of the world below. But something inside started to glow, a voice whispering, it's time to go.
So today's guest is Marc Smith, actor, close protection officer, coach, and someone who spent years around elite performances, discipline, high-pressured environments. Marc has also been closely connected to the world of boxing and combat sports, where toughness is often celebrated, but vulnerability is rarely discussed openly. In this conversation, The Voice of Healing, we're diving into men's mental health, especially through the lens of the boxing culture, masculinity, resilience, emotional control, identity, and what happens behind the cameras when they stop rolling and the boxers are all alone and the fight is over. Welcome once again, Marc Smith. Thank you so much
Hi.
for coming.
Hi,
We
Carl.
were just,
Thanks for having me on.
you're welcome. We was just talking about the Wardley and Dubois fight,
Yeah.
which I thought was a fantastic, spectacular fight between, as you said, two prime fighters. Just elaborate once again, real quickly, on your take on that. Being a professional, a trainer yourself, which we'll delve into.
Yeah, so I was excited about the fight. The reason why I was so excited was because they are two young, hungry fighters. They were equally sized. It was just a great, and there were two Brits as well fighting for a world title. So it's always more exciting, and they've got more to fight for.
Yes.
But the actual fight itself, in the first round, Dubois got knocked down very quickly, and I thought, oh my god, this is going to be an early night. But as the fight went on, Dubois was so calm and controlled that he managed to get back into it, and not only get back into it, his experience then took over, and sort of halfway through round 5, 6 onwards, he started to dominate. And Fabio Wardley was a seriously tough warrior of a fighter.
Yes.
But he took a lot of punishment, and you could make a very good case for his team pulling him out earlier because he took a lot of punishment, too much punishment for my liking in this day and age, especially heavyweights. One punch, well, we know from doing the Michael Watson thing, but one punch when you're an 18, 19 stone man can do a lot of damage. So yeah, it was a very good fight. Entertaining, very entertaining, great fight. It will go down as one of the best. But I just hope that Fabio Wardley is okay and doesn't suffer from it.
Yeah, exactly. It was a very entertaining fight. I have to say I was completely blown away, and I feel actually because it was somewhat of a reputation kind of going around Daniel Dubois about being a quitter.
Yeah,
I think he's maturing now, wouldn't you say?
I 100% agree. You know, the thing is with Daniel Dubois is that this quitter thing started when he fought Joe Joyce and he took a knee, but his eye socket was smashed, and I always remember listening to the pundits saying, "Oh, he's finished," and then the ones that really knew what they were talking about said, "No, he took the knee because he can come back." Now, I don't think there was many people that thought he'd become a world champion and knock out Anthony Joshua at some point, but that stuck with him, and I think that probably mentally affected him for quite a while. But you know what? He stuck with it. He hasn't quit. And last night, when he went down that knee, he got straight back up. He went down again later in the fight, got straight back up. So he's proved that, you know, he's the real deal.
Yeah,
he's the real deal.
Absolutely. And to be honest with you, Joe Joyce, I mean, he's a monster of a man.
Yeah.
And anyone,
Yeah.
with a broken orbital, eye bone,
That's right.
it's really something to really question the heart of someone. You know what I mean? And I think if you've never been in the ring, you kind
Exactly.
of you kind of just look at it from a spectator's point of view, and you don't have the respect that's needed. Just a quick question, Marc, because I met you, and you're a big man yourself, and I'm a big guy too.
You are.
And you was at least a few good inches above me. But when people look at you, they probably see strength and a lot of confidence. Okay,
Yeah.
what do you think people misunderstand about men and when those who appear tough?
I think what they misunderstand is that we are no different to anyone else, and that sometimes through being big and tough, as we put it, and maybe through the choices of work that we do, if you are a boxing coach, or in security or something like that, you're in a not I don't like the word macho, but it's the only thing I think of, that macho industry. I think that people take it for granted, and they think that you don't have a sensitive side to you, and that you don't go home at the end of the day and you don't have the same worries and stresses that everyone else has, because you are this big tough guy. Um, and that and that and that's quite sad, because unless those people are very, very close to you, and even then it's a struggle, but you tend to think, well, what's the point in saying what I really feel? What's the point in not complaining, but expressing my feelings? Because some people just won't accept that, and they'll just say, "Well, look at you, look at you, look at the size you, look at the jobs you do, look at this, and if you drive a nice flash car, look at the car you drive. What have you got to worry about?" And it's totally not true, as you know. We
Yeah,
Everyone struggles in the same way.
yeah, yeah. It's a very good point. I mean, we are visual creatures, and
Yeah,
we say we don't see things, but we do. We visualize things first, and a lot of the times, because I work with a lot of actors as well. Um,
yeah,
Certainly in the theatre realm, and a lot of them, big guys, are quite sensitive, and hence the reason why they've probably chosen such a business as going to theatre and
yeah,
drama to try to become another character or just feel comfortable, can obviously oftentimes be dangerous as well. Um,
yeah.
but with your size, have you received any negative reactions? Because I know I have. Walking down the street sometimes. This is back in the days. People
Yeah.
used to kind of front you and test you out to see and if you was a fighter or something like that, you get these random people just come up to you. You had an experience like that perhaps at any time
Oh,
in your life?
absolutely. I mean, I was a lot bigger when I was younger, because I used to hit the gym very heavy. I was all about heavy weights and size, and um, yeah. And the thing is, when you are big and you look good, you like to wear clothes which
Yeah,
you're proud of yourself. You're proud of how you look. So,
absolutely.
of course, what I would have experienced in the past is you walk into a bar, restaurant, and you automatically can see the people that look at you in a rude manner, or but yeah, you'll get guys in pubs and clubs that little stare at you, like, and you know that they're bad mouthing you. You could be the nicest guy in the world. I'm a nice guy, I'm a pleasant guy. I mean no harm to anyone, but you'll get squared up, and then that natural thing then comes in. Well, you think, well, do I just like leave here? I'm not going to give you the satisfaction of that. I'm going to continue my night.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, it is, and it can. And what I realised was is that depending on my actions is how that escalates. So I'm a big thing about de-escalating. I don't look to create issues. But if I was not of the mindset that I am, I can definitely see how it'd be so easy to get dragged into battles and fights and arguments all the time.
yeah,
And the thing is, Carl, again, you being the bigger guy, what happens? Something, you're getting brought into a little bit of a tussle or something, or an argument, and everyone else in that bar thinks, "God, what a twat! Why is he throwing his weight around?" Well, no, they started on you. You know what I mean? But it's a vicious cycle.
yeah.
So
Do you
yeah,
feel sorry to interrupt you. Do you feel society is somewhat treating men unfairly based on there's this terminology that of past toxic masculinity and things of that nature. Do you feel that it's a threat to some people when they see someone who is confident, has testosterone,
yeah.
is You know, you just want, as you say, you know, you feel you look good. You know, it's all about that, isn't it? Without trying to put anyone else down, you're confident in yourself, as I've seen.
Yeah.
Do you think that's what do you think about that when people say things like that? Do you think that's to suppress men? Because if you're talking about it, then obviously there's a issue with it that you don't like. But nevertheless, we are male. We do have testosterone. Testosterone has certain characteristics. What do you think about that terminology when people say toxic, like it's toxic
Yeah.
masculinity?
I, I don't like it because I think that everyone, male, female, whatever you are, you have some things which you're good at and some things you're not good at, and that's simple. And if it's the fact that you are a physically confident, able man, it doesn't mean you're a bad person.
Yeah,
You know, like you, probably my strengths I use for good.
yeah,
You know, I don't. If I am bigger than someone, I don't throw my weight around. If I do know how to box, I don't go and beating people up. I help, like I help kids, and I coach kids, learn, teach them how to box and get them out of doing bad things. Um, if I, you know, but yes, you're right. There's this element of, and I'm sadly, I think a lot of it is down to social media, but there is this element of, if you are doing something good, if you are confident, then it's a problem. What's wrong with being a strong man? What's wrong with being strong and confident? Uh, it doesn't. And another thing to bear in mind, it doesn't mean we always were. As a kid, I wasn't. In my teenage years, I wasn't. I was fat. I was very unconfident, actually.
yeah.
So I've grown. I've put a lot of work into myself to become the man I am today, and the man I have been for the last 20 years or so. So no, I don't. Yeah, and I think it's really sad because what happens is you get to the point where we can share good practice, we can do a lot of good for people, but you then start to think, do I want to do that? Is that, am I going to be seen as, oh, not him again, or oh, not, what gives him the right to be doing that? Why does it have to be a this guy? And it can repress you from doing good stuff, I think. So yeah, I know I hate that whole toxic thing, but then I do understand there are people out there which
Yep.
do bad stuff, do throw their weight around, and unfortunately, they're the ones that get picked up on the most. They're the ones that get seen. And they're the ones that often create a bad image for good people like you and I.
It's interesting you talk about repression of of, of,
Mm,
of a person, um, because that is a key word that we kind of work with. We work with key words, you know, repression, and that's a
yeah.
word that I feel is not conducive to the mental state of people.
Mm.
Because obviously, you know, if you're trying to blossom and someone is suppressing you and stopping you from doing that, how does that affect modern day men when they feel that they're being repressed in whatever way?
It's horrific, mate. I think as soon as you as soon as you, it's not even allow, as soon as you find yourself being repressed, you become frustrated, you become anxious. You have this ability to shine, you have this ability to work, entertain, or whatever it may be, or just be a family, a dad, whatever it may be. And once you start getting there, you start to become inverted, and you think, well, I'm not allowed to do the things I want to do. I don't want the battle of fighting to prove I am this person.
Yeah,
And then, and I think there's a lot of different sort of cultures in different countries, but like, for example, doing that film, the Force, etc. That pe- I know people that will look at me and go, "Oh, he's on a film set now, another film, another." But what they don't realise is that that was always a dream of mine to get into the movies, and it didn't just happen overnight. I didn't start doing it till my 40s. Um, but it's one of the best things I've ever done. And why didn't I do it up to my 40s? probably because I felt repressed, and I felt that, why would a normal working class kid, what gives him the right to do that? And it was only because 40s was a big turning point for me in my life, Carl. That was when I really thought, I want to break out and do things that I want to do. So that repression it's devastating, and
Yeah.
once it starts, I think it's a snowball. It just gets worse and worse because you start saying no to all the opportunities that you could have, which would fulfill your life and make you happy. And we all deserve to be happy.
Absolutely. Just let's hold on to that thought there. I'm just gonna.
Yeah.
I have a technical issue.
You did Frank Bruno proud, by the way, mate. Your performance on when you were doing the Frank Bruno is brilliant.
Yes, that was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was right. We're back. Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean, Harry.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah, and we're going to be getting on to Frank Bruno as well.
Yeah.
I love what you was talking about feeling oppressed, feeling repressed, and I think it's a valid point that people should really take on board. That even though they see someone in a film or someone's done music, they have no idea what precipitated that and how hard the individual had worked to get to that point. And I think
Exactly.
people are quite short-sighted in that sense. So it's a good point that you mentioned that. But
Yeah.
from 40, because this is about men's mental
Yeah.
health. So about 40, perhaps you can like elaborate on how you are now, because I've got to be honest, when I saw you, you seem like a force to be reckoned with, an
Yeah.
impenetratable person that
Yeah.
is so strong and confident. So how
Yeah.
did you get to that point? Because this is so vitally important for young men and
Mhm.
middle-aged men as well.
Yeah. So I found myself in my 20s not really knowing what I wanted to do, just hitting the gym, doing my security work, didn't really know where I wanted to go. Then in my 30s, I thought, no, I want to set up a business, set my security business up. I threw everything in, threw all my time and effort into that, which was great. No regrets for that. But the managing 100+ guys every weekend or 7 days a week became very stressful. And for various other reasons as well, I got to a point when I was 40, I had a relationship breakdown, my business was stressful, just everything that could go wrong was starting to go wrong. And what it did, it had a knock-on effect of my health because I stopped training. I wasn't going to the gym as much. I was not so mindful on diet because I was eating when I could, when I wanted, probably comfort eating to a point. And I thought, you know what? If I don't sort something out here now, I'm going to become a person I don't want to become. And it was a turning point, and it just so happened that I was 40. I started then to break it down and go, right, what do I want from life? How do I get that? And a lot of the things were, I was very brutal, Carl. I changed my industry. I literally removed the negative influences, people in my life that were not good for me. I didn't go places that are good for me. But I even got to the point where there were certain areas or certain roads I would drive that just had a dull feel. I would take a longer route because I knew that what made me feel good every day. And I decided what am I passionate about? I'm passionate about boxing coaching. I'm passionate about coaching and helping others. So I gave up a much more higher paid income to it was a gamble to do things that I wanted to do, and that's in the same with the acting. The acting cost money. It meant traveling. It meant putting myself out there. But it was one of the best things I ever did, and I'm still learning to this day. But it was a very hard decisions. But I just broke it down, and I thought, what makes me happy? And these are the things that make me happy. They may not earn money, And unfortunately, we live in a world now where a lot of people prioritize money. They may not earn money, but they can do. And I worked really hard at it, and it made a lot of changes, a lot of positive changes. And now I do. I feel like, I have struggles like everyone else, but I do. I feel great now, and I feel
Wow.
literally the best I've ever felt. And I'm 50 now, so
Wow, that's so. I'll tell you what, that's such an impressive testimony.
mm,
A very brief one at that, but it was from what I gathered from that is you've gone through a lot of trials and tribulations, but you've
yeah,
come out on top. And it's funny, really. It's interesting because 40 plus. I remember being 40 a little while ago now.
mhm,
And I remember, my whole world changed. I'm not really sure. I know women go through menopause, but I think
yeah,
I know there's a thing I think actually kind of equates to women's menopause in men.
yeah.
Um, I don't think there's a name for it. If anyone knows, please send a message in or leave a comment or what have you. Because I think men go through a certain shift in their
Yeah.
mental state, in the physical state as well. Um,
Mm.
I'm really impressed by that. Growing up, what messages did you receive about emotions, vulnerability, and things of that nature? Or asking you as a man, what messages did you receive
Well,
from people?
well, that's interesting because as a young a boy and a man, emotional intelligence was not something that was in abundance where I grew up in my home life. My father was a very old school, don't show emotion type of guy. So I grew up, and I've got two brothers, and we were all the same. We
Yeah,
were
you
brought
and I.
up into this very hard, very. He was a very hard working guy, and we had everything we needed, but we didn't have emotional intelligence. We didn't have that. You know, I can probably think he probably told us he loved us. He's still alive now, but he told us he loved me twice in my whole life. So for me, and school life, went to a boys' school. That's interesting, actually. Going to a boys' school, boys only school, um, also had an impact because you never had that, didn't have that female interaction. Um, it was all male energy. And then when I left school, because I didn't know what I wanted to do, I got I did some different things, but I pretty much at 18 got straight into security. So I was coming from that very lack of emotional intelligence environment, family upbringing, to working on the front door. And you're with guys that again don't show emotion. They have to have an ego. And yeah, so it's quite I actually, when I look back at it, I think to myself, it was quite a hard process to tune into the real me,
Yeah,
which does have, I do have emotional intelligence, and I am empathetic, and um, so yeah, no, I was always brought up around a toughness, which is which makes me kind of more proud of I how I came out because I, I did have to work at it, or I had to maybe not work at it is the right word. Maybe I just had to say no. That is not how it should be. Let's just be myself. I'm myself, and I do allow that vulnerability to be there.
yeah. There's a saying, "Real men cry." Um,
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I I understand. I mean, back in the days, fathers, really showed their kids, the boys, that kind of emotional intelligence. They deemed it weakness, which is,
yeah,
it's becoming apparent that that's in fact, not the case. And being emotionally connected to your son is probably the
yeah.
best way to and having that male and female energy as well. So
Exactly.
they see and they feel both elements is conducive to an absolutely better human being, right? What role has discipline played in your life? Because I know, and I've seen your work with, some of the guys on Instagram. They're fantastic
Yeah,
and
yeah,
young and old, and it's so inspirational, guys. You have to go and see him, Marc Smith
yeah.
coaching. He's
Thank you.
absolutely fantastic, and I'm inspired by it. But you know, it involves discipline. How would you work on kids who have, a mental deficiency, or are struggling with confidence, anxiety, depression, and stuff like that?
Yeah. So I got into the kids with coaching the kids, the boxing. I got into it because I do not believe that all the kids that we are told are troubled, they are a problem, they are looking to do bad things. I don't believe that that is. Of course, you get exceptions, but I don't believe that they should be written off. So my view was that if we could create something where you can get these kids in, show them that discipline, but also show them love and show them opportunities, then I believed that they could create a better life. And that's what's happened. We get 30 to 35 kids come through a boxing class that I put on. And I always stress to the parents, this isn't, it is a boxing class, but I actually don't care if they learn to box or become good boxers. It's about the life skills they learn while they're in that room. So when they're there, if they are rude or abusive, or they swear at one of the other kids, I say, do you really need to? Do you really need to say that? And I have to tread very carefully because they're probably saying it because their parents talk like it, and they're like, "Wow, well, it's not really what I want here." I'm not saying you can't do it, but I'd rather you didn't. And you honestly, Carl, I've seen some of the toughest kids because some of these kids are very tough. You get these, you know, I don't know, I would go out and when I was a kid get into a scrap now and again, but what I'm seeing now, with the carrying knives and stuff like that, they're a lot, I don't know, scary. But
Mm.
and they're like, oh, okay, and then I don't tell them. Like I say, I let them make their own decisions, but over a period of 3 or 4 weeks, you can see them soften, and you can see they're like, "Oh, you're right. I shouldn't talk to people like that." And I'm like, when you go to school, don't just do it here. When you go to school, treat the other kids with respect. Treat your
Mm.
teachers with respect, and I promise you, it will come back.
Yes.
And then, and I'm seeing it, and it's the most beautiful thing because you know they only know what they only know what their parents are showing them, and sadly, some parents they talk rudely, they act aggressively, and they witness this, don't they? And that's what they learn. So the discipline's so important, but it's like with the kids, it's kind of like a soft discipline. It's like I'm guiding them, hoping they make those decisions, and they do, rather than just say, "No, this is not how you do it," because they don't necessarily always respond to that.
Yeah,
Some do.
exactly. No, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, a lot of times with what with the Voice of Healing, obviously, we work with young males as well, and elderly people, because we believe that
Yeah.
the parents also need a form of education. Once that is programmed, isn't it, into
Yes.
their systems from their parents and their parents, and sometimes epigenetics and things of that nature that comes in as well.
Yes.
And so, I totally agree with what you're saying. Once a child has that confidence that's inbuilt, sometimes from an external um, um, influence, I think that is also very important for the young children. So when they go to school, there'll be like a beacon of light,
Yes.
and with such confidence that other children would be looking at them, and oftentimes they get pushback. But I think it's such an amazing thing that you're doing. I really, really love
Yeah.
it. Um,
Thank you. Yeah.
have you personally experienced any burnout or anxieties, and if so, how did you overcome it? And if not, what advice would you give to young children and men and elderly men as well? Because let's not forget, men 40s, 50s, 60s
Yeah.
have one of the highest rates of unaliving themselves
Yeah.
in the UK. So what advice would you give them, Mark?
So I would say you have to listen to your body, and listen to your gut. I have had burnout. I remember when I had a very large security company, and because I was striving to be the best, striving to have more
Mm,
contracts. I was literally going to falling asleep at night, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, with my work phone in my hand, waking up 3 or 4 o'clock, watch it, replying to messages, falling asleep, waking up at 7 o'clock, going into the office, and I was becoming very, very burnt out. But there's that balance. There's that. Uh, I was of an age where I thought, well, the most important thing is to earn the money, get that money in. Um, and then I remember watching an interview. I can't remember what it was, but this interview, and this guy was on there. He was saying, if you had all the money in the world, but you had 6 months to live, you you'd give it all up to buy another 6 years or so,
yeah,
and it kind of it puts things into perspective. And I think as I'm getting older as well, I realise that yes, you need money, you got to have money to buy things and live, but it doesn't mean anything.
yeah,
Um, it's about that peace of mind, isn't it? It's about that longevity. It's about that, you know. For me, it's about calmness. Anything now for me is about calm, and yeah, burnout is a very, very real thing. And what I would say to anyone listening: do not ignore it. But if you're getting those feelings, you're getting constantly stressed, headaches, your body is reacting. It's a very real thing, and don't let anyone say, get a grip. We're here to work hard, and you got to listen to it, because people have, as you know, mental breakdowns happen, and it's a very real thing. I think mental illness and breakdowns does get talked about a lot now, but if you went 10, 15 years ago, I know people that have had genuine mental breakdowns and they're never the same again. And most of it has been because they have been burnt out because of extreme work conditions,
yeah,
or overcommitting to stuff that they really don't have the capacity to deal with.
yeah. Mark, this is it's just this is like, groundbreaking information from yourself,
Yeah.
because we take each individual so seriously, and
Yeah.
it's everyone has a story to tell. No one's, you're not just some kind of mystical mistake that the universe brought
No.
into life. But I want to carry on with this conversation.
Here we are.
Right, yes, here we are.
We're
First
back.
time lucky. Yes, we are back. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you so much for your time, Mark. Really, this is I really appreciate it.
No
It's a
problem.
Sunday. I can imagine you got lots of things planned and stuff like that. But we was talking about individuality, and how what you brought forth onto the table for us was quite invaluable in terms of your information that you was giving. And you was talking about mental illness, okay, and how it progressively, because it's not an immediate thing.
No.
It doesn't happen like that. It happens through lots of scars, lots of traumas, lots of issues, turn downs and jobs, and rejection and stuff like this, even from parents as well. Um, how would you tell a young person who is maybe 20, looking for work and stuff like this, but cannot find work? Because we know, as you know, unemployment is extremely high at the moment in the UK, and constant turn downs. And I've experienced it being an actor in theatre,
Yeah.
constantly going for castings. You don't know what the casting director's looking for. You either get the part, I've resoluted to the point where, with lots of jobs, of course, but lots of turn downs as well, equally,
Yeah. Yeah.
that if they're just not looking for you and it's nothing personal, what advice would you give, young guys on the streets who, you say involved in, or potentially could be involved in violence, or with the wrong groups? what would you say to them, and how would you direct them into the right direction?
Well, the first thing I would say is that, you know, we are going to get knockbacks. We're going to get rejections. That's going to be part of life, and we have to keep going. And eventually, something good does come along. You know, whether it's work, etc. But I would also say that we also live in a time now of, you know, we don't live in this historic 9 to 5 get a job in an office type world. We're in a factory or office, whatever. We have got the ability now more than ever to make a business out of our passion. So, you know, there's a lot of negatives of social media, there's a lot of negatives of technology, but there's a lot of positives as well. And I do feel that if you have a passion or something you want to do, now the people around you, let's say you want to start an online shop, or I don't know, you want to get into coaching, for example. A lot of people around you will say that's not going to bring you instant money. That's going to be this, going to give you the negative. That's one of the key things for me. For young people that are aspiring to do something and they're getting knockbacks, look out the box. Think, well, you know, could I try something else? Could I pursue what I really want to do? It doesn't have to cost a lot, because technology helps us a lot. You know, we're doing this now. You know, think 20 years ago what it would cost someone to record an interview and get it posted somewhere. It cost hundreds of pounds. Now we can do it for free. So I would say that look out the box, look at other opportunities, think about your passions. Can you create a living or a lifestyle out of the passion that you have? But I do understand it's very, very tough. And I even remember when I was a kid, 16, leaving school, applying for jobs, I've still got a big pile of letters that I used to keep. And the reason why I used to keep them was to show my mum and dad and say, look, you know, you probably think I'm a failure, but these are all the businesses I've been writing to. There was no email then, I think it was just coming in, but these are all the businesses I've been writing to ask for jobs. And these are all the businesses that are saying, no, we don't need anyone at the moment.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have had to do that, but I do understand the pressure of, you know, especially when your other friends are working and they're doing well for themselves. So yeah, it's just hard as it is, just got to keep going, keep applying, keep pushing. Something will come in, and but yeah, definitely look at those aspirations. Look at the things that you're passionate about. Maybe make your own lifestyle, your own career out of things you're passionate about.
Yeah,
So
absolutely, absolutely. Find a passion, and if you are struggling with finding something to do, because a lot of the times people find it very hard to really focus in on what they want to do or what they're good at. So
yes,
we are definitely here for that.
ah,
What
excellent.
what's hardest for men, most men, taking a punch or asking for help in your experience?
Asking for help,
Yeah, isn't it?
100%, no doubt
Isn't
about it. You
yes,
know, you take a punch, it comes, it goes, and you get on with it. And in actual fact, it's not nice, but you probably feel quite good after in some ways, because you feel like you can take it and you've, you know, built a bit
yes,
of resilience. But
yes.
asking for help, no, it's very, very difficult, very, very difficult. And, you know, again, some of the most powerful athletes and business people, some of the greatest men in the world were the ones that didn't ask for help, and then they severely struggled and suffered after,
Yeah, exactly.
because they didn't ask for that help.
Yeah,
And it's the
we have.
same, and it's always the way, isn't it? So many people say, "Why didn't you ask for help? I wish you'd
Yeah,
asked for help. If you'd asked me, I'd have helped."
yeah,
But not easy.
yeah, exactly. They say that the graveyard is one of the most richest places on earth because many people have gone with all their creative ideas, possibilities, business, books, all kinds of films and stuff like that, but haven't been open or
Yeah,
let themselves be vulnerable enough to share their wonderful idea, and they've
yeah,
taken it to the grave. You know, I wanted to ask you as well.
yeah.
Now, can boxing become a therapy for some men?
It absolutely can, and the reason why it can, and the first thing I would say before we say it can, is we have to differentiate between boxing. So there is competitive boxing, like we saw last night with Wardley and Dubois.
Yeah.
Then there is boxing for fitness. There is boxing for social. There is boxing for confidence. So boxing can definitely be therapy for men,
Mm.
but you have to go to the right place. You have to understand what you're getting into. You know, a lot of people don't get into boxing because they think, well, I don't want to get beaten up. I don't want to get punched every day. You don't even have to ever have any contact in boxing.
Yeah.
You can learn it for the fitness, but it definitely can be therapy. Um, Fitness, commitment, and confidence. It's a huge. I mean, I even teach a young lady who is disabled. She's in a wheelchair, called adaptive boxing, and everyone I've ever seen that has come along, started boxing, it has done nothing but good for them.
That's beautiful. That is.
Um, yeah, so it's incredible, incredible, the power of boxing.
Yeah. And we think sometimes people think that they have it hard because they're going through issues in life, and everyone obviously has their own individual respectful issues as well. That
Yeah,
different places, you're a different place from a different person. You know what I mean? But to
yeah,
be in a wheelchair and to have that
yeah.
heart. I saw a lady as well with muscular dystrophy, and she was boxing, and just her whole body contorted, and she was doing it, and
Yeah,
I was just like, God, this is an amazing thing to see. What a wonderful human being with a wonderful spirit. I encourage you, really go out there.
mm,
We'll leave Mark's information as well.
yeah,
And if you're in the area, you want to contact him, then certainly, because boxing is a wonderful sport. It keeps your blood flowing, your blood heals the body, oxygenated blood. It teaches you about health and everything like that as well. Can box, like a lot of fighters talk about um, anger
yeah.
and giving them power.
Mm.
Is that counterproductive, or can that be fueled in the right way?
I think the anger can be great to um, push them in training. The anger can be great to motivate them to give their best. But actually, in the ring, anger is counterproductive. You
Yeah,
saw it last night with Dubois. He shows no emotion, never gets angry, and he's one of the best out there. Um, some of the greatest boxers of all time, Lennox Lewis, um, Floyd Mayweather, they're the calmest, least angry boxers when they enter that ring. The ones that are very angry, and although I was a big fan of people like Mike Tyson, they take that anger into the ring, and it's like a self-destruct.
yeah,
Um, so no, anger's not good in the ring, but it will motivate you, because if you're angry, if you felt that you've been dealt a bad hand or someone's treated you badly, and you use that anger to motivate you to get yourself out of a bad place,
yeah.
and boxing can take you to a great place, then absolutely, but not in the ring. You got to be
Wonderful. And
calm, controlled.
that's a valid point. When you're calm, you can think clearly.
Absolutely.
When you're aggressive and you have that emotion, you're not thinking, because you're in a fight or flight situation, and you're not in a position to think, just to react. And so that's
That's it.
so important, so important. What is the difference between um, uh, combat sports, like boxing, and things like jujitsu, karate? What would be your favorite sport if you had a choice?
For me, it would be boxing. I mean, I've done taekwondo. I spent quite a while doing that, and I did Thai boxing. I've never done MMA or jiu-jitsu or anything like that, but boxing for me always is my number one. Purely because I love the tradition behind it. I love how far it stems back, but I just love the history. I love the how it crosses over into everyday life. Boxing, if you think Rocky movies, it's just a beautiful sport, and I always think with boxing, we can always equate some part of our life to a boxer's life. Like the Rocky story, I think is incredible. If people haven't seen the Rocky franchises,
Adrian.
because that's interesting, Carl. Because I always say to people, you watch Rocky 1, Rocky 2, the strongest person in that film is Adrian.
Yeah.
Without Adrian, he can't do what he does.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting point that about the support around us.
Yes.
And right the way through that film, all those films represent different parts of our life.
Yes.
Even when he gets right to the end, and he's in his 50s and he wants to do it one more time, most people would look at that and go, what are you thinking? But I understand what he's saying. He's got that something in the basement, as he calls it.
Yeah.
He wants to exercise those demons and prove he can do it one more time.
Yes.
So yeah, for me it's boxing, but yeah, I just love it. I love it.
Right. And fighters, we all know that a lot of fighters after retirement struggle mentally, have issues, without naming any names, out of respect for the boxers, because I really do respect them. Getting in the ring is not an easy feat. But a lot of fighters do suffer from post-boxing. What advice would you give people like that?
No, I think if we're honest, most of them struggle. And the ones that don't struggle are the ones that keep their thoughts to themselves. All the high profile boxers that have either severely struggled or unfortunately have taken their own life, or found themselves sectioned and things like that, they've all shared the same thing. They don't talk about their problems. And the reason why they don't talk about their problems is because they were the heavyweight champion of the world or this or that. And why would they want to talk about their problems? Because they're seen as this iconic figure, which of course they are. But they they have to talk. They have to talk, because as soon as you start talking, it halves, it relieves that pressure. But I know why they get that way. They've been on top of their game. They've lived a life of adulation. Wherever they go, they get treated like kings, and they would anyway. But overnight, because often with boxing, as you know, it's very, very rare that they retire undefeated or they retire as a champion. They normally retire because they've been made to retire.
Yeah.
So suddenly they've lost that discipline. They've lost those 12-week training camps. They've lost the fans, and they just don't know how to deal with that.
And fans can be quite brutal as well. It's amazing, with the event of social media, people leaving just heinous messages, and just like, I was just before the fight with Daniel Dubois, I was amazed at how people just, write horrid comments about him. And I think to myself, if he ever reads that, that's not going to help him in any way, And I feel, you can't change the world, but I just would love if people were a bit more sensitive to other people's feelings. And, he's probably trying his hardest to be as normal as possible and ask the questions and to be as savvy as you like. But it's just not him, is it?
No, it's disgusting. Honestly, I've always said I have this love-hate relationship with social media. I think it's so powerful, but some people are just so disgusting. I found it when it comes to the boxing, I found it the biggest with Anthony Joshua, when he was, the biggest thing out there, the most saleable, the golden boy of boxing.
Yeah.
when he lost his first fight,
Yeah.
all I saw was disgusting. You know, oh, he was useless. He was always this. He was always that. But the reason why he was fascinating was because, of course, a year later he picks the titles up again,
Yeah.
and then those very same people were like, "Oh, he's the greatest thing out there. He's this, that." Then he loses them again.
Yeah.
You know, and I just look and I think how fickle and how it's just, yeah, it's just awful. They just yo-yo and
Yeah.
they haven't got a clue. But you're absolutely right. Reading those comments, I'm sure he doesn't, but if you do read those comments, and you don't have to be a superstar boxer to get, anyone who is doing something of success, or
Yeah.
doing something to better themselves, will get trolled in this day and age, and it is disgusting. It's enough to cause, as you know, mental issues, stress within you, your environment, your family, or simply stop you from doing the thing you love most.
Yeah.
You know, if I want to do a podcast and I love doing a podcast, and I now haven't got a real resolute, bulletproof, mentality to it, it doesn't take a lot to get a few comments and think, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
don't want to receive that abuse every day.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Because there's always someone's going to disagree with something. We've all got an opinion. We can disagree, but it's just disgusting comments.
Yeah.
I saw
Respectfully.
there's a well-known singer that's in a bad way at the moment, and I saw some comments about her being in an induced coma, and I just read these comments and I think it's disgusting. It's just I don't know, mate. I despair. I really do. But
Yeah.
then I also think that that's more reason for people like you and I to share the good vibes, share that positivity, and make people realise that you don't have to be like that.
Yeah.
Just be a good influence on the world. You know.
Yeah. In the books of old, we were once known as the elders.
Yes, that's right. Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
and I think someone like yourself is I commend you because of what you're doing and your heart and your spirit and we need more people like you on the Voice of Healing. So the younger generation, even the generations our age, can hear the spirit that's coming from you because it is
Yeah.
interchangeable and it does pass through. Years from now, when
Yeah.
people think about masculinity and mental health and as it pertains to yourself and everything else, what would you like them to think of when they think of you and all these things?
I would just like them to think of it and think, well, he was a guy that was no different to anyone else. He didn't have a bad life, but he didn't have a exceptionally a fortunate start. He just was a working class guy who had struggles like anybody else, but realized that over time, it was good to be strong. It was good to be confident. It was good to believe in himself. And in believing in himself, he did inspire. He was aspired, but he did inspire, and he did make a change. I just want to be someone that has seen that made a change, Carl. A positive. I always want to be a positive influence on people. If I'm not a positive influence, then I I wouldn't want to be an influence on them at all. I just want to be a positive influence, no different to anyone else, nothing special. But I believe in what I do, and want people to know that it's okay, more than okay, to be strong and confident. And I encourage that. Be as strong and confident as you can be, because we need it in this life. Because
We
life
do.
is going to throw us challenges all the time, and we need that. That's how we build our resilience. And don't let anyone tell us you can't. The difference is you don't use that confidence to do bad things. You use it for good. And as long as you use it for good, then be as strong and confident as you can be. That's what I say.
That's wonderful. Wonderful. Mark, you want to tell the audience a little bit about where we can find information on you and your website, perhaps? We'll put it down in the link as well so you can connect with him as well. But what website do you have for our audience?
My website is www.marksmith.co. and on there it's got all my links about my coaching and my acting stuff and my security business. There's still an active security business. So yeah, please check me out or my Instagram, Marc Smith Coaching. And yeah, and I'll always reply, and I'm always welcome messages. So
thank you so much. You're a humble man, Mark. It was lovely talking to you.
Thank you,
and
mate.
Thank you so much, and hope to see you soon on the screen.
Yes, mate, and you too.
Take care.
Big friend. Take care, mate. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Break out, oh, oh, yeah, come on, break out, be free. I used to walk with my head down low, chained by the weight of the world below, but something inside